Hello there and welcome to another episode of Christmassy Goodness, sponsored by Mockember, a series on the channel where we take every day of the LEGO Star Wars 2025 Advent Calendar and build something. Find something to mock out. Today is the 12th, which is right here, and it looks like today we won't be building anything. Well, that's not exactly true. At least the Advent, we won't be building anything. And that's because day number 12 is BD72. It's something like that. BD72, spot on. I know my stuff. I didn't pick up the Mando N1 playset, but now that I've got this little guy here, and I did make a custom Pelimotto using Star-Lord, which you basically can't tell the difference unless you got a magnifying glass. I'm excited for the rumored UCS Ultimate Collector Series N1 Starfighter next year, and it means I don't have to pick it up just for this little guy. But today's plans have changed because originally I was going to steal my fiance's BD1 droid and do a simple recolor. It's not as easy as you think. It's not just red for blue, because BD72 has a blue arc right here on the leg, so these white pieces would need to be blue. Then this red is actually light grey or a silvery. Would need to flip this joint here so it's white on the inside, silver around the leg, and I'm sure there are many people that have already done this all over the platform. Rather than breaking down our BD1, that apparently is like half the size of actual life size, so this guy is meant to be massive in real life. I'd love to see a BD droid updated, maybe for the third game. LEGO can drop one to scale with the buildable characters, similar to the BB-8 coming out at the start of the year. And I wonder how big BD would be to BB-8, because I feel like BD's half the size, more to the scale of Dio. But I feel like BD might actually be taller out of the two. I think this guy's meant to be like 40 centimeters high. Anyway, the reason why we're not doing that modification today is because instead I have found, well, I can't take credit for this, Bevel. You'll know if you jump in live streams, Bevel, a viewer of the channel, has found some really cool instructions that turn the Gingerbread 8080 set into a Gingerbread BD unit. So we're going to build that instead. If you would like to build along, the instructions are free, completely free on Rebrickable. So I'll leave them linked either in the description or a pinned comment. It depends on which stage of the upload I remember to include them. And I definitely encourage you to break your 8080 down, build this, and then probably what I'm going to do is build the 8080 back afterwards, because it was such a fun build. I just need to find those spare parts that we took out. I'll keep you updated with the build and anything that I change. And then afterwards, just like yesterday, we will take a look at the finished set. Oh, don't worry, the clips will show up soon, I'm sure. Actually, there weren't many clips because it turns out the building for this Gingerbread BD unit was immaculate. It was as fun as building the original LEGO set, the Gingerbread 8080. And take a look at this guy. We'll take a closer look in just a second. But just to talk more on the building, there was a few instruction steps that you were building and you're thinking, okay, there's a plate on a tile. This is not going to work, but you've got to trust the process, because in the very next step, you then cover it. It happened 2 or 3 times at least on either side of the BD unit, and both times you would then secure it down with either a few more plates, or there's one right at the end that just uses a tile. I honestly think it's good enough. It gets the job done, and you just saw, looks amazing. Take a look. The Gingerbread BD unit. This is one of the funniest mocks I have built in a long time. You may remember, well, this isn't the first Rebrickable mock that I have built. We built the N1, a modification for the microfighter of the N1 that made it look a bit more like the N1. And this is a completely different build, but this would look great alongside the 8080. I'm thinking, perhaps you've bought 9 of these to go with an upscaled sleigh, which is something I do want to build next year, if I can get my hands on all these parts for cheaper than the original set, that is, because they're still pretty expensive. You could then build a BD1. There were so many other alternate builds that we saw in the last video when we reviewed the set. This honestly, I would recommend. Go build it, the instructions are free, and the best part about this is when you get to the end of the instructions, it lets you build it yourself. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of little studs and these 1x1 tiles, not studs, a lot of these little almost M&M coloured elements all over the gingerbread. And when you get to that section of the instructions, you can either follow through with the original designer's design, or like I did, go ham, place them all yourself. And I think Lego sets need to be more like that. I know this video is about the mock build in particular, so we won't talk too much about Lego sets, but imagine if you got to the end of the instructions and then they were like, do it yourself. See, have had that before, and they've even had stories to follow along that end up with a build looking a little different every time. The feet on this, it does remind me of the original BD1 build, especially the way that some things are built. There's a lot of inspiration taken from the original BD1 build. Obviously a few part restrictions that they had to switch things around for, but the build otherwise is built nearly exactly the same. Take a look at the backs of both these BD units. Can you tell the difference? It takes you a second to realize that one's shorter than the other. Even the legs, the way the legs are built is a lot better than the actual set. I'm not sure if I've done a review of BD1 here on the channel. I'm sure there's some sort of video, but these are locked in place. The legs move backwards and forwards, but the feet have no articulation, so you can't really stand it anywhere other than this. Technically you could get it like bent down, looking forward or back, and the neck does have a few joints. Okay, it can only look up and down. Yeah, you can't really articulate it any other way. There is the stim canisters in the side, but this BD unit right here has, even with the lights, full articulation on the top leg joint. That can bend the whole way around. Did I pop something off? I didn't. And you can also fully articulate the lower leg. So you can have BD running, and maybe, because it's made out of gingerbread, this is BD1, or maybe this is BD72, or maybe this is BD13. There is no knowing what sort of BD unit this is. So even if you're watching this in like 20 years times, where BD units are as common as R2 units in Star Wars movies and shows, you can come back, build this, and it works for pretty much any BD design. Here's the size comparison. It's about 80%, if I had to say, top of my head. It does look very close to the original one. And if you missed out on BD1, you can even build this with the proper colors. You can see on BD1, we've got some red shining all the way through. So recolor it white, then add some red design to it, and it would be, first off, really easy to do. That's a good idea. I might do that for BD72, if only this added up to some sort of scale. Because if this is about 3/4 or 80% of the half size model, that makes this nearly a third scale. But this is so much cuter and seems to be more the scale we see in game, doesn't it? With BD poking over Cal's shoulder. I really like this build. I have lost a leg. Oh dear, what's happened here? I don't know how this has popped off. Oh, I see. We've got one joint on the back that is held on just with the stud connection. Shouldn't be a problem for the most part, but if you are to put it on a rounded surface that puts pressure on the back leg, it will fall off and break. So it's not a perfect model, but that's just about as good a connection as you're going to get in any other Lego model, isn't it? The stud connection. The weakness is the studs don't hold up to every storm, every weather, and when that does pop off, the leg goes with it, but the leg's held on with quite a few plates holding that in there. So the only thing I perhaps would change is to add a slope on the outside. We don't get any of those in the set. So with the parts given, this is a really nice build, and I think alongside the AT-AT, I might find myself coming back and building this again next year. Go check out the original instructions. I'll leave the page linked somewhere down below. I definitely recommend supporting these sort of builds, and the fact that it's free as well is amazing. Obviously only uses the parts in the set. It's not as complicated as some of the other mocks you will see, but really fun, and makes use of a Christmas set that you might get bored of the AT-AT if you have it up for a few months a year. Maybe next year you can build the BD bookmark it and come back in 2026. But that is all for today's advent. Stay tuned for more Mock Ember videos, and until then, may the bricks be with you always.